Today we're celebrating a remarkable milestone in South African music history. The music arena marks an incredible 100 years of championing artists, preserving our musical heritage, and shaping the country's entertainment landscape. Joining us is the CEO of the music arena, Antos Stella, a highly respected industry veteran whose career spans more than 4 decades. Under her leadership, the music arena continues to honor its rich legacy while looking ahead to the future of the music industry. We'll reflect on a century of impact, the organization's contribution to South African music, and what lies ahead for the next generation of artists and music lovers. I absolutely love this. I love the fact that we as Africans are able to celebrate 100 years of a music arena. Welcome to the show. Antos, good morning. How are you doing?
Sunday morning. I am delighted to be on the show. Excuse me if I'm sounding a bit croaky this morning.
Oh no,
I
don't
am
worry.
more than excited to share this wonderful milestone for Gallo.
Uh, no, this is like so amazing. It's like I've been smiling the whole morning because of how well Africa's doing during the World Cup. And even, your story
Wow.
in this
Yeah.
interview is making me smile too because it's like as Africans, we're like doing things. It's amazing. Um, so the music arena is celebrating an extraordinary 100 years. That is no small feat at all. What does a century mean for the organization, and how are you commemorating such a historic milestone?
Lee, let me correct you. It's actually Gallo that is celebrating its 100 years, and Gallo is within the music arena, which covers a lot of different entertainment
Ah,
businesses within the music
yes.
arena. But Gallo is the oldest record label on the continent, and if I am not mistaken, is one of the oldest labels in the world. The most wonderful thing about it is that it still remains independent. It's South African owned. So we have everything to be proud about. I mean, it is just a remarkable a milestone in the current music industry that a record label 100 years old with this very rich catalog still survives in the business.
Now,
I mean, and
Antos,
still remains South African owned.
yeah, that's amazing. Because I mean, just with Gallo's story, when I was based in South Africa, I know Gallo, you guys had so many milestones. You signed, from the hip hop
Wow.
perspective, you signed Pro Kid, you signed Squatter Camp. I mean, of course, Black Coffee is one of the, I think he's one of the he's invested into
He's a
Gallo music
shareholder
as
in
well.
he's a
He's a,
shareholder in the business, yes.
yeah, he's a share in the business, and of course, Miriam Makeba's catalog is really big, as well as Lucky Dube's catalog. So this
Yeah.
rich heritage of just like supporting South African music across all of the sectors. What has been some of the most exciting periods for you for Gallo in the past 100 years?
I mean, look, I wasn't there. I mean, kind of like from the beginning, but there's been such incredible milestones. We always say that. I mean, Gallo's got this very, very rich history. Some of it's a little controversial, not a little, a lot, very controversial. Given the times 100 years ago when Gallo started. I started at Gallo. I would imagine I could only proudly say in its second era of golden years, which is really from 1984 to 2004. But if we go a little bit, further back in history, Gallo was one of the few back in the 1930s. Gallo was one of the few artists, few record labels that were signing local artists. It was, I think if we remember, the very first African talent scout and producer was Griffith Matielo, and Matielo, I can never pronounce his name, my apologies, Matiloa.
Yeah.
And we have, from then we had Solomon Lindes and Bube, very controversial time for Gallo. But if we really look, I mean, through the years, it has covered all the genres that this country has to offer, with some of the biggest names coming out of it. And it has everything. Again, I have to, reiterate that it is proudly, proudly a South African label. But and it was also just very instrumental in the history of South Africa. I think we have to just always remember that. You've mentioned some of the big artists, but we cannot forget that Ladysmith Black Mambazo that went
Yes,
went on
yes.
to win Grammy after Grammy. Tandiswa Mazwai, Mango Groove,
Yes.
Lucky Dube, huge era in our history with Lucky. But also we had Ladysmith Black Mambazo celebrating. We talk about sport, World in Union when we won 1995, when we won the rugby, such a milestone in our country. So, it was just 1 year after democracy, a huge celebration for music for the country. Um,
Yeah.
and I just think we have to respect the artists and the legends that form part of this label. We can celebrate the label, but it would be something for us not to actually celebrate who made that label, and that was really our artists that were before us, the artists that came through the decades, and most importantly the artists who will form the future legacy. And I guess that's what we're very focused on at the moment. But it would be really, there's just so many names that fall into the Gallo, record label and I feel terrible if I've forgotten anybody. I'm just giving you the key artists
Yes.
that
Yes.
went on to be ambassadors for our country and for our label. And they all went on to have huge international careers. And
I
then,
mean,
respectfully, Black Coffee, was is one
yeah.
of the first big. He's an international artist that really recognized the fact that there was a legacy and became a shareholder of this business. Huge respect to him.
No, most definitely. Do you know what I love about this is like globally, with the music industry, as you know, more often than not, like with record labels, as you said, Gallo, there were some not such great parts in the history, but Gallo's been able to also correct and to just keep going. But it's not often that you hear like the CEO of a record label really talking so anywhere in the world, talking so passionately about how the business of the label is actually due to the artist. For
Absolutely.
yeah, which I think is so amazing. And this is probably why you guys are doing so well. Because even as you're mentioning other names, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys really are so entrenched in South African and by virtue of that, African music history and legacy. So congratulations to that. So now,
Thank you.
you've had like an amazing 100 years. How are you? Because I believe this is your 100th year. How are you celebrating the 100 years of Gallo music?
Oh, we've got so much organized. First of all, again, we want to pay tribute to the artists that have come through the years. We are planning we're busy in the middle of a documentary and a feature film, with a lot of research. Very exciting times coming it because it's going to give the label the longevity that it deserves. We're busy with a historical album, which we're going to submit for the Grammys. I think having the history that Gallo does and having, the milestone of a centenary, it deserves international recognition.
Yes.
We have planned a number of events with a finale happening at the end of this year, which I can't share too much about at this moment in time, but it will celebrate our legacy and it will also look forward to the future because, as you mentioned, as we celebrate and pay huge tribute to the artists that have come, before, we are also looking ahead. Gallo's plans are, given the companies that we kind of are in, have acquired over the last few years, we're looking very much ahead to protect our copyrights in terms of AI. We are building our own platforms. We are, getting way ahead of the tech development and generally staying ahead of the music industry, which is pivoting very quickly. And with the younger artists that we're signing, we are planning to take them international, which is what we did many years ago when we showcased the artists like Ladies and Black Mambas and Maklutini and the Mawatela Queens, Lucky Dube, Bayeti. Those were all of the relationships that we had and we have built along with the artists, the international careers.
Yeah. I really love this. Antos, you touched on AI, right? And obviously,
Yeah.
one of the industries that can be greatly affected with AI is, the music industry. I mean, many years ago there were issues around piracy, and now again artists have to find ways of protecting themselves. Where people can't go and just use their voices and make another song and all of that. And just like AI can be used for good, but there's also the challenges within the music industry. For you as the CEO of like such a big label, what do you think? What let me say, what rules and laws need to be put in place to be able to protect artists in this digital world, especially around AI? I think I saw that Lionel Richie has gone ahead and he's done something to basically he's done like an IP to be able to protect his voice, so you can't use it in AI. For you, from the context of South African and of course African artists, what are your thoughts around AI and how can we protect our talent as AI becomes more prominent?
I think the first thing we need to do as I mean, and from an artist perspective, is to understand, the severity of what could happen if we don't protect it. And I think that they have to be very cautious in terms of any record, any label, sorry, any agreements that they sign, because in the big, in the if you look at a catalog like Gallows, where people are already scraping it, we've got a tracker now. We're finding people are already scraping the content from our very vast catalog. So what we have done is we started creating a walled garden in a platform that we've created called MAD, which is Music Africa Direct. And we will retain all of that copyright with a tracker. And we will only, and this is in protection of our artists. And as it's developed, it's become a purely African streaming service, which will be launching in a week's time, called Music Africa Direct. And in that process, we are trying to also ensure that we protect the copyright of all of our artists and our entire catalog. It is coming at us so quickly, as you know. You've already mentioned the Lionel Richie. Many artists have already started suing big companies, big tech companies that have already started scraping the content. We are planning to do something to protect our content. I mean, and again, make it a truly African
Yeah.
platform that protects our copyrights. And we're working furiously and very quickly to try and do this, because we've seen AI is coming at us.
Now, I also want to talk a little bit about the way that African music is basically taken over the world. Like, let's just be very honest, Like, if there wasn't an
Yeah.
African artist there, did the event even happen? Did it matter? That's my slogan. I'm gonna I'm gonna stick with it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
even as you're talking about with Gallo and the fact that with Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, you guys had really put them forward. They were winning Grammys way before African music was like global popular culture, the center of it, and quite a lot of the other artists that you mentioned doing very well internationally. What are your thoughts about what's happening now with the global interest in African music? Firstly, what do you think the good part about is that? And then secondly, what do you think about all of these consistent debates about how African music can only be amapiano or Afro beats? Do you know what I mean? And how that, how us as Africans can ensure that we have a wide range of African artists that are being, African genres, pardon me, that are being represented globally.
Yeah, so I think that we first of all, congratulate. I think it's absolutely amazing that we have
Yeah.
African artists still representing. I mean, the continent. We know the Afro beats, a piano. I think Afro beats. We have to pay respect to the fact that Afro beats has been consistently the biggest genre in the world. Continues to break records in terms of bringing artists into huge events. And we have to learn from it. I think that as a continent, we have to learn from it. I think I'm a piano artists are starting to break through internationally now, but there's so much more place for. And I have to, I keep on referring to Ladysmith Black Mambazo just because many of our artists have passed on. But if I look at Ladysmith Black Mambazo, people don't may not know that Ladysmith Black Mambazo still continue in this day. I mean, Joseph's grandchildren are now forming part of it, and it's just incredible to know. I mean, that the legends have passed on the culture of music to their children, and the children have just carried on flying the flag of Skatamir so, highly around the world. Ladies Mambazo still tour the world. In fact, in August, they play the BBC Proms in London at the Royal Albert Hall. People continue, they sell out, not in huge venues, but in big venues still. And it proves to us that people still want to hear music from, our continent that's not necessarily urban. And if I
Yes,
can only
yes,
just distinguish between the urban, and I would
yeah.
imagine that if Mum Miriam and of course Lucky were still with us, they would still be, you know, performing around the world. And there are many artists that still perform around the world. We know Tandiswa performs around the world. So I think that there's a huge opportunity. The world still wants to see our different genres of music. Breaking through with an international hit, that's coming. I do believe that's coming. I do believe that it's time we will see that, like we've seen the explosion of Latin American music across the world, that Africa is taking its position proudly in the global world. And I think with the advent of streaming, it's making life a little easier.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree with you. And also, I have to just reiterate what you're saying about Afrobeat because I think many people, I mean, you'd be aware, but many people will not know that the Afrobeat music industry was built by the artists. You know what I mean? There isn't like formal structures. So we really have to
Absolutely.
take our hats off to them, which is really amazing.
100%, and it's decades of, I mean, if we
Yeah.
go back to the origination if we start looking at kind of the Fela Kutis and that as they were
Yeah.
paving the way, I mean, the artists, again, respect to the Afrobeats artists. They
Yes.
have consistently, kept the flag flying on that genre of music. And I think as Africans, we need to pay respect holistically to that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Antis, I wanted to know with regards to Gallo, what are if you can just break down like what some of the other divisions of Gallo are that are doing really well outside of the recording of artists, that are really supporting and building the infrastructure for the African music entertainment system, industry, pardon me. And then before I let you go, is there any like non-South African artist at the moment that you wish that's well known that you wish was a Gallo artist?
It's
I'm
always going
being
to be a
cheeky,
hard
but
one,
let's.
right? It's always going to be a very hard one.
Yeah.
So I think that Gallo has. I mean, I think particularly in the last 3 to 4 years, Gallo recently, well, not recently, some like 4 or 5 years ago, acquired a company called Content Connect Africa, which has been very more at the forefront of experimenting with tech. Also created a distribution platform for independent artists. And that platform offers distribution deals as well as label service deals while the artists own their own masters. It's a distribution deal. And in that journey, a distribution platform was built, but then it pivoted to becoming a streaming platform, which is it remains a streaming platform to only offer content from the continent, and trying to have a fair play for the artists to earn decent streaming, royalties. And I think that that's a very progressive thought that we're having. There's also within the Gallo Group, there's an OTT service with Arena Holdings, as you know, which is the holding company of Gallo, to provide a platform that features, music from the continent, music videos, music concerts, movies, lifestyle. So progressively moving forward, I think that in Gallo's divisions, in each of the divisions outside of Gallo Record Company, who retains this incredible catalog. The team at Gallo are still signing young, developing artists, and as I say, they often August to on a mission to try and find a platform for some of our young. I'm a piano artist. We have a great young female artist who's breaking. I mean, a lot of boundaries at the moment. A lot of records. JJ, I'm a piano artist. We're paving the way. So there's a number of different initiatives happening and the various, there's Gallo Record Company with an international feel, Gallo Music Publishers again, who also has a huge legacy, but signing new artists. And the big thing is that we're looking at collaborations.
Yeah.
My passion has always been wanting to do a collaboration that is in the from the continent, that we could break boundaries. Remember, within Gallo, we have not only the catalog. We sign a number of genres across the board. We have Vota Kellerman, who's also a Grammy, award-winning artist. We still have the legendary Mawatila Queens. Mum Hilda still signed to us. And what I would really love to see is a collaboration across, whether it's with East African artists and the Nigerian artists, and currently, particularly in the climate that we find ourselves right now. I've always felt that in the time that I've been in the music industry, music has broken down all boundaries, right?
100%.
It's really been the hope, music and sport.
100%. Yeah.
And and I
100%.
feel when you ask me what artist would I'd love to have signed to Gala, it would definitely be one of the artists from the continent. You know,
I,
whether it is a Burna Boy or a Davido I would love to see artists that come and see the potential for us to collaborate with this enormous catalog. I would love to see African catalogs come together to represent, and protect ourselves from the AI onslaught. That's what I'd
yeah.
love to see. So it's not an international artist if we in the sense of that. I would love to see out of Gallo. I would love to have signed one of the big Afrobeats artists or one of the bigger artists from the continent.
Yeah. That's yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody who knows me knows who I'm gonna say that I would have wished. But I'm gonna keep it, in case people think that the artist is paying me, which they are not. But I would just say
No, tell me.
Thames, Thames,
Yes,
Thames,
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 of course,
Thames, Thames,
Thames.
Thames, Thames.
Yes, of course,
Yeah,
Tim. Sorry, my
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
I actually forgot about Tim's Sunday morning.
Honestly,
Forgive me.
I was
Tim's, I
about
would
to
love
just
to.
be
Yeah,
like,
I love Tim's.
first I was like, you and I were on the same page. When you didn't mention Thames, I'm like, no
I'm
Thames.
sorry.
No,
No,
I'm just,
I just because my mind is like a little. Of course, Tim's. I mean, Tim's not only for the incredible talent that she is, but Tim's for the how she's powering.
exactly.
The kind of opportunity for women on the continent, female
Yeah,
artists. I love
100%.
Tim's. So yes, of course, Tim's.
Of course,
I'd love to
Thames.
see
So
Tim's and JJ do a collaboration.
right? That would be so
Yeah,
amazing.
that
This has
would
been
be
such a
amazing. So forgive me, Lee. Tim's is definitely someone I would love to have signed
yeah,
together as
I've
well.
forgiven you. By tomorrow, I would have forgiven you. Right now, my heart is still a little bit sore. But thank you so much for joining us. And
Uh,
congratulations on 4 decades of an incredible career in the music industry. Congratulations
Thank you
for
so
you
much. It's been
personally.
wonderful.
And congratulations on 100 years for Gallo Music, in the music industry and just your contribution to the industry. Looking forward to 100 more. And thank you very much for waking up on a Sunday morning. I know it's cold in Joburg. I'm in Accra, so I'm feeling a little bit warm and
Oh
toasty.
wow!
But
Oh my gosh, love to Accra. One of my
I,
favorite places too, Lee.
no, next time you're here, don't worry, I'll take you out. We'll hang out. Uh,
Okay. Thanks,
have a
Lee. Thank you so much for your time too.
no. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Antos. Have a beautiful week. Bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
The sun is rising, so is Africa. The Oasis with Lee Kasumba, 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time on Channel Africa. Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge. Not fully figured out, not fully funded, but fully unstoppable. Celebrating the youth on Channel Africa, the African